A modern female college student was live streaming about history, but the live broadcast appeared in ancient times 3,000 years ago. The king, hearing that he had become a ruler who lost his country, instantly became blinded by anger, directly throwing the things on his body, scaring all the ministers to immediately kneel down. But the female college student was still happily live streaming. She eloquently explained to the audience about the king's deeds, and the reason for the country's demise. It turned out that besides the king, no one else could see the live broadcast. The king, coming to his senses, immediately took the live broadcast as a divine warning, finding a random excuse to turn around and leave. But no matter where he went, the king could see the live broadcast. The girl said the first reason for the country's demise was that the king believed the lies of the old servant beside him. When going to war with another country, he actually chose to make peace. Hearing this, the king also became suspicious, and questioned the old servant beside him. But just as the girl was about to continue, she was called away by her classmate. The king brought up his past with the old servant when he was young. It turned out the old servant had followed the king for 20 years, when the king had not yet ascended the throne, and everyone had abandoned him. Only the old servant stayed by his side. The king didn't believe someone who had followed him for 20 years would betray him. At this time, the girl came back, and continued the live stream. What she said once again made the king suspicious, so the king spoke again to test the old servant, asking him about the war between the two countries, and how he should choose. At first, the old servant was very clever, facing the king's questions. He did not directly give an answer, but as the king kept asking, his answer made the king understand the underlying meaning. It was actually exactly the same as what the girl said during the live stream, telling him to make peace with the other country. If the girl had not appeared, the king would have really been persuaded by the old servant. Just as the king was hesitating, the girl said the outcome after the king made peace. Not only would his daughter die tragically, the country would be in turmoil, and he himself would be angered to the point of vomiting blood. After hearing this, the king immediately abandoned the thought of making peace. He angrily smashed the cup on the ground, ordering the old servant to immediately find several ministers and commanders. The old servant was so scared he immediately knelt on the ground. He didn't understand why the king suddenly changed so much. Turning around, the king also called his personal private guards, ordering them to secretly investigate the old servant. And at this time, the girl also reached her break time. The live broadcast instantly disappeared. Soon, the king found out that the old servant indeed had a problem. He was secretly communicating with the enemy country. His first task was to persuade the king to make peace. The furious king immediately arrested the old servant. But even before his death, the old servant didn't know how he was exposed. The king, thinking the matter was resolved, immediately went to find his most beloved concubine. Unexpectedly, the girl started live streaming again at this time. It turned out that the woman the king saw as gentle and kind was actually vicious and ruthless behind his back, killing many innocent young girls.